welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. Today I am going to be taking you through everything that I do for my pregnancy back day in the gym. So before I do any kind of weighted exercise, I go in with a banded warm-up. So the first movement that I went in with is called banded dislocations, I believe, and this really just focuses on getting those shoulders nice and warmed up. Then I moved into some around the worlds, which can be really confusing to grasp at first. I feel like it took me a while to master how to actually do them, but once you get the hang of it, they are really easy and they do get your upper body nice and warmed up. I usually do around 20 reps on each of these exercises just to make sure that the blood's flowing and everything is nice and warmed up before lifting. And then I moved into this next movement, which I actually don't really know what to call this. It's just kind of a side-to-side motion, an overhead side-to-side motion, and I feel like this really helped warm up my lats as well. It's so important to make sure that you're warming up before you're lifting any kind of weights, as it helps with mobility, range of motion, and also reducing injury risk. And then when I go into my first exercise, I always make sure that I do a warm-up set. So I went in with a bent over barbell row and I do my first set with just the bar. And then I add some weight and I go in with my 3 working sets. I've got my feet shoulder width apart, I've got a slight bend in the knee, I'm hinging at the hips and I've got my back nice and flat. I'm driving the bar back through my elbows, bringing it to just below my lower ribs, thinking about bringing those shoulder blades together at the top. Now I'm going in with a lat pull down. You want to sit nice and tall with your chest up and a nice straight back. And you want to make sure that your shoulders are nice and relaxed and they're not shrugging upwards. And then you want to drive the bar down through your elbows, thinking about bringing your elbows towards your ribs. Bringing the bar down towards your upper chest, you want to make sure that you're not using any momentum or swinging to bring the weight down. If you are, it means the weight is too heavy and you're taking all of the tension off your lats. You also want to make sure that you've got a full range of motion at the top of the movement so that you get a big stretch through your lats. And then I moved into a seated row. You want to sit with your chest tall, a natural back, and you also want to make sure that your shoulders are neutral as well and that they aren't rounding forward. Then you want to bring the bar towards your ribs, driving back through the elbows, thinking about squeezing those shoulder blades together. It's also really important to keep the movement nice, slow and controlled. You don't want to be swinging, you want to keep the tension in your back, and you also want to make sure that you're not locking your elbows out. And then it was time to move into some biceps, so I went in with some alternating bicep curls. I've got a nice natural stance and I've got my elbows tucked into my sides. When I'm driving the weight up, I'm really trying to focus on keeping my elbows tucked into my sides and only moving my forearm to make sure that all the tension is with my biceps. You want to make sure that you're avoiding swinging your arms and also your upper body as well. Avoid using momentum at all times. And then it was time to go in with some stretches. The first stretch that I did was a standing lat stretch. Now this is mainly done using a chair or bench, but the bar was the only thing that was available. So I'm using my hands to hold on to the bar. I've took a little bit of a step back and then I'm leaning into the stretch so that my torso is parallel to the floor. This honestly feels so nice throughout your lats and pretty much your whole back, to be quite honest, especially after a back day. It just relieves so much tension and gets a really good stretch. And then I went in with a standing bicep stretch. I'm placing my palm on the wall and keeping my arm in line with my shoulder, and then I slightly turn away from the wall and that kind of opens up the arm and gives a nice big stretch across the bicep. And then I moved into a cat-cow stretch, which is one of my favourite stretches at the minute, especially during pregnancy. But this doesn't have to be done just because you're pregnant. You can obviously do this anyway, as it's really good at relieving tension in your back. So starting on all fours, I've got my knees in line with my hips and I've got my hands in line with my shoulders. For the cat part of the stretch, you want to tuck your chin into your chest and round your back. I always think about trying to pull my belly button up towards my spine. And then for the cow position, you want to lift your chest up and also your tailbone up as well. And your belly should drop towards the floor. Make sure that you're not rushing these movements. You want to move slowly between the cow and cat position, and you also want to make sure that you're focusing on your breathing as well. And then for my final stretch, I moved into a child's pose. So I started out on my knees and I've got my toes up together. I have to have my knees quite wide to accommodate my bump, so that's the position that I started in, and then I slowly sink my hips back, lowering my chest to the floor and keeping my arms nice and straight on the floor in front of me, and I've just got my head resting on the mat. And I really try and focus on slow, deep breathing during this stretch, and I try and hold it for a minute or two. As always, make sure that you are checking with your midwife or healthcare professional before starting or continuing physical activity during pregnancy. As long as you have a low risk pregnancy and they do okay exercise, they do try to encourage it, as it really does help support your body and your baby. But thank you so much for watching. That is everything for my pregnancy back day, and I will see you in the next video.